The Pacific Railroad's last spike ceremony was drawing nearer by the day. That day was coincidentally the deadline the two of them had set for themselves, Jacopo to confront his wife and the white-haired girl to wait for him. And as that day approached, she continued to write letters. She wrote the letters purely by force of habit, despite having been worn visibly thin. I expect that she could not stop, that the act of writing was all that was keeping her from going mad. By focusing her attention on another person through her letters, she was able to maintain her grip on herself. But that day would put an end to her suffering and despair. When the railroad was completed, all their misunderstandings would be cleared up. They would return to the smiling, happy couple they had been when they were first married. The harsh winter would finally come to a close, melting away into the past and allowing them to step into the future. With constant prayer in my heart, I impatiently awaited the railroad's opening ceremony. I do not, after all, wish for anyone to fall into any kind of misfortune. And that goes for you as well, Master. Now, Master, the door is soon to be shut upon this era. Are you prepared to see what happens next? I see. Very well. Then allow us to make our way to that final day. See with your own eyes, Master, how this tale concludes. And please, do not let go of my hand. The night before the opening ceremony, the master of the house headed for his wife's shed. There was a tension on his face, but a surety in his step. He had found the resolve to speak with her. Having locked her away for so long in the shed like a common prisoner, Jacopo was hardly optimistic about what she might say to him. He had undeniably mistreated her, said heartless and cruel things to her, and even gotten physically violent with her. His actions were inexcusable, even if they were in response to her infidelity. Of course, the very infidelity which had driven him to such behavior had not, in fact, taken place, but he was unaware of that. There was a chance they would never reconcile their misunderstandings, and that this predicament would not have a positive resolution, but he still clung to a tiny fragment of hope. He wanted to start over with the white-haired girl, to make a new future with her. With that desire burning strong in his heart, he stood before the door to her shed and called out to her. Are you awake? It's me, Jacopo. May I come in? I won't hurt you. I will not raise my hand against you again. I swear to you, I will do you no harm. I just wish to speak. I would like to have a calm, rational conversation. And as such, I will not enter your room until you have given me your permission. So may I please come in? You won't even give me a response. All right. Considering how you must feel about me, I shouldn't be surprised. Fine, then you don't have to let me in. But please, at least hear me out. Do you remember the day, shortly after we first met, when we went on our honeymoon? If you can even call the little walk we took a honeymoon. I was unable to do anything nice for you then either. I had no experience, no idea how to interact with an upper-class woman like you. I didn't know what I should do for you. And yes, I know, that makes me sound juvenile. I have a tendency to say things I don't mean the more perturbed I get. I'm sure I said things to hurt you numerous times that day. However, at the photography shop, when you saw the Fanaticus scope, you smiled for me. I was genuinely pleased in that moment. I felt like I had gotten closer to you. I very much doubt that was actually an appropriate present for a noblewoman like yourself. Jewels, or flowers, or something like that, something beautiful, would have certainly suited you better. And I knew that, but I assumed you would have given gifts like that countless times in the past. You are, after all, a beautiful woman. I did not want to have to compete on the same field as those other men. I wanted to be special. No, I wanted to be unique to you. No one had ever shown you anything of the sort before, had they? Frankly, I wasn't even sure if a woman of your status would take any interest in a Fanaticus scope, after all. I imagine you've thrown it out by now, but I choose to believe you sincerely liked it on that day. That, if just for a moment I caught your eye, even if you started seeing other men afterwards, that moment was real, wasn't it? Our marriage was, at its core, nothing but an arrangement between our parents in exchange of money and influence. That was how it began, but with that day, I loved you. I yearned to see you smile, as if I had loved you my entire life. The Pacific Railroad has finally been completed. That's the project I've been funding. Everyone thought it was crazy, but a railroad now stretches across the breadth of this country. A joining ceremony will be held tomorrow. It's going to be a grand event. Locally, they plan on doing a gun salute, and the sound of the last spike being driven into the ground will be transmitted across the country via telegraph. I have procured a telegraph so we can listen to it here in the mansion. In your condition, you would probably have trouble handling the crowds at the telegraph station. But here, you could celebrate in the comfort of your own home. I suppose what I'm saying is, I want to celebrate this with you. I have made arrangements to make that possible for you, because I wish to have you there, with me. Would you be willing, tomorrow, to celebrate the completion of the Pacific Railroad with me? Would you be there at my side? Please, say something. I want to start over. I know very well what I've done to you. You may be at fault yourself, but what I did is unacceptable. But what I did was a consequence of my overpowering love for you. I swear it. Why? Why will you not answer me? Say something, anything. Please, please. You can hear me in there, can't you? If you don't want to, you can just say no. If you do reject me, I'll set you free. I won't hurt you, I promise. The door is not locked. Who opened it? Hello? A humid spring breeze brushed against his cheeks. The drawn lace curtains appeared to glow in the gentle moonlight. The white-haired girl was not in her room. Where have you gone? Stupefied, he glanced about his wife's chambers. To my eyes, the neatly organized room appeared no different than any other day. But to his eyes, it was pale and hollow. For the one who was supposed to be there, who was supposed to be waiting for him, was not present. He could not hear her voice anywhere in the shed. In its place echoed a dry rustling, a sad, pitiful, empty whisper of a noise. It came from the lone object abandoned atop her desk. The phenakistoscope. It was the one present Jacopo had ever given the white-haired girl, a toy made of paper. When spun and viewed in a mirror, it created the illusion of a man and woman dancing. You still had this? That's ridiculous. I assumed you had thrown it out. The white-haired girl had evidently made considerable use of her phenakistoscope. The paper was visibly worn and tattered, warped in places, and had even begun to yellow. It spun slowly in the wind, rustling and rustling and rustling, spinning in an endless reminder of that day the year before, though there was no longer anyone around to look through it. But you were with other men. Why would you keep something I gave you? It's so worn. Why? A letter. Beneath the ever-rotating phenakistoscope lay a single sheet of paper. As if drawn to it, he scanned the contents of the parchment. It was a letter addressed to Caro mio Jacopo. The salutation, written in his native language, translated as follows. My beloved Jacopo. Did the fruits of your dream turn out as you had hoped? I am sure it was wonderful and impressively fast. A train that can travel across a continent as large as this is like out of a story. I wish I could have been there to see it. I'm sure it would have been quite pleasant, like the day you gave me the phenakis wheel. Am I being presumptuous? I'm sorry. I thought I would keep waiting for you forever, no matter how much you hated or ignored me. But I made up my mind, so I'm sorry. I decided I would wait for you until the railroad was completed. I foolishly thought she might invite me to the opening ceremony, but it seems I am not good enough for you. I'm going to take my leave of your house, so you needn't concern yourself with me any longer. However, I do have one request. Please do not forget about all the letters I wrote. Think back on them from time to time. Do not burn them all, for they contain my thoughts, my feelings, my words, a record of my love for you. Remember when you can that I was always watching you. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble writing. My ears are ringing. There's a voice whispering to me, calling me a witch. Maybe it's your voice. My vision is blurred. I'm not even sure what's going through my mind. I'm sorry. This was all I was able to write for you. I'm truly sorry. I will leave the Phoenicus wheel behind. It was my dearest treasure. Farewell. I loved you. May 8th, 1869. What the hell is this? He was visibly rattled, and unsurprisingly so. The mention of the Transcontinental Railroad's opening ceremony, the letter she had written, her dearest treasure, her profession of love for him, and above all, the mangled text that appeared to have been written by someone not entirely in their right mind. Everything about it served to amplify his befuddlement. You waited for me? How can that be? The joining ceremony is tomorrow. It hasn't happened yet. Why? Why did you have to leave then? I'm here. I came for you just as I planned. The ceremony's on the 10th. A second later, Jacopo gasped. The date written on the letter was the day prior, May 8th. Originally, the ceremony was planned to be held on May 8th, 1869. However, due to bad weather and a labor dispute, it had to be postponed for 2 days. This can't be. I made sure you were informed. I had Maria. Maria. The madam is having an affair. Maria. No, you couldn't. Scattered fragments of memory began coming together in his mind. Maria was the only one who informed him of his wife's supposed unfaithfulness. And though the letters had not been addressed to him, thinking back on it, they had been all about him. In one letter, she mentioned treasuring a gift. Jacopo had assumed it meant a gift from another man, but in fact she had been referring to the phoenicistoscope sitting atop her desk, still spinning in the wind. At long last, he finally made that connection. And at the same time, he realized that the only person who could have altered the letters was someone they both trusted, Maria. Never. She never even once betrayed me. She was not unfaithful at all. She waited unwaveringly for me, and I refused to believe her. I caused her pain again and again. But his realizations came far too late. The white-haired girl's spirit had broken, and she was no longer at the mansion. Had he caught on to Maria's machinations sooner, things would not have turned out as they had. But he was much too late. Maria, why? Why would you do this? Clenching the letter from his wife, Jacopo stormed out of the shed in search of Maria. But she was not in the room assigned to her. Where are you? Where have you gone? Maria! Several maids were roused from their slumber by the racket, but no one had the courage to speak up as the master of the house frantically charged through the halls. Eventually, he arrived at his own chamber. He was certain he could close the door before leaving, but now a sliver of light shone through the gap between it and the frame. From within the room, he thought he could sense someone's presence. When he opened the door, there he saw, comfortably perched upon his own chair, a woman. I've been waiting, Jacopo. Nice room you got here. Though I guess that's only natural, you being the man of the house and all. All these fancy furnishings. You do know this stuff's too good for you, right? And then me, I get that barren little maid's room. Drives me up the wall. So hey, Jacopo. Clear the air with your little lady yet? Maria! I love that look on your face. I'm guessing you didn't make things better then. You know good and well that she's not even here anymore. Well, yeah, but I still want to hear you say it, you know? I want to hear from your own mouth that you couldn't keep a leash on your woman, so you locked her up, drove her mad, broke her down, and then she ran away from you. Go on, say something. Climb back on your high horse and start shouting like you always do. Why, Maria? Why would you do this? Why? Why do you think? Because I fucking despise you. I'd been trying to figure out how I wanted to end things, but then they just fell apart on their own. The fates are smiling down upon me, I guess. Nonsense. She was waiting for me until the day of the joining ceremony, and I was going to see her on that day. You knew the ceremony had been postponed. That's what you get for putting it all in my hands. For thinking I'm the only one on your side. What, did you think I'd just tell her like a good little maid? Not a chance in hell. I mean, talk about some fantastic news. You both picked the same day, but you've got the dates different. Absolutely perfect. Maria, is that how you've always felt? How long have you held this grudge against me? How long? How long? How goddamn dense can you be? Must be nice living in your little fantasy world, Jacopo. And this is the next Capo Famiglia? Oh my god, my sides. So you've always hated me. At the very least, I fucking loathe you since the minute we had our reunion. At first, I did try to convince myself you had your reasons. Didn't make it feel any less unfair, though. You had all your money and all your power and everything else you stole from me. And then you go and get hitched to this pretty lady. Oh, don't try to act like you're the victim here. This is all on you. Do you have any idea how I felt? Fallen from grace, made your goddamn maid, having to suck up to you. Do you have any idea how infuriating that was? Or did you think I didn't know anything? Did you think I didn't suspect anything? If you did, then you've got your head way up in the clouds. So you were motivated by your grudge against my family, the Berzattis. Precisely, that's it. Your father wanted so badly to be the Capo Famiglia, wanted so badly to be in power, that he murdered my dad and grandpa. They say it was a carriage accident, but the ground was all torn to hell where it happened. You want to tell me what kind of carriage accident causes it to explode? As soon as my dad and grandpa died, your dad took over as Capo Famiglia. The balance of power in the factions began to change. My family, and anyone with ties to the Campanellas, was either exterminated or exiled. The Berzattis took control of the city. My grandpa's Casca became your Casca. No one in their right mind would be naive enough to think the Berzattis didn't have a hand in that. The great Campanella family bitten by their pet dog. Except the dog had rabies. And as a result, in time, that lush historic land will wither away and die. My dad and grandpa, buried in that dried up earth, are screaming in their graves even now. You can't prove me wrong, can you, Jacopo? And now, first in line to be the next Capo Famiglia is you, his son. Naturally. Feels pretty good, doesn't it? Slaughtering my family, leaving us to wallow in the mud, while you live here like a fucking king. Because of what your family did, I don't have a home to go back to anymore. No house, no prestige, I have nothing left. And that's goddamn outrageous. The Campanellas are supposed to run that city, but instead, you filthy Berzatti curs are crawling all over it like some kind of infestation. I am a legitimate Campanella, but I'm stuck being your goddamn maid. If I hadn't been born a woman, I could have become the Capo Famiglia after my dad and grandpa died. But because I'm a woman, I couldn't retaliate. I had just had to sit on my hands and watch the tragedy unfold. It was absolutely miserable. So I had to make you suffer as well. I had to make you twice as miserable as I was. You had no reason to hate anyone but me. Why did you make her a part of this? Did you have some grudge against her too? Not particularly. I actually rather liked the madam. Sweet, pretty, kind-hearted, timid, and fragile. Trusted every word I said. A splendid little toy. You thought of her as your toy? Now, can you really call me out for that? You can't. You have no right. You never cared one bit about anyone else. They're all footstools to you. It's a little too late to find yourself a sense of morality. This whole thing, it could have been avoided if you two just had a single conversation. But instead, the both of you came crawling to me, saying you're my only ally, Maria. How dense can you be? Of course, I thought you were my ally. I trusted you, as I'm sure she did too. Then you should get your eyes examined, because you can't see a damn thing. Maria. My God, it was beautiful. The way you two blindly trusted me, creating your own misunderstandings, and causing your own pain. How could you never seem to get on the same page? Watching it all fall apart. Maria, is that everything? The extent of your grudge and all you did? Yep, that's everything. All that's left is for me to kill you. Hold still now. I wouldn't want to miss. Maria, you? Does our past mean nothing to you? Was that oath just an empty promise? How could it, when you remember so clearly? Fine, I'll explain it for our little romantic boy. Bad grown-ups will even take advantage of good memories. It's time. I finally return this to you, Jacopo. That cartridge you gave me, packed with your disgusting sentimentality. Killing you ain't the end, though. All you Berzati curs. I'll send every last one of you straight to hell. My revenge has just begun. Even if you had been a man, you wouldn't have been a suitable capo famiglia. You should have aimed between my eyes, Maria. Jacopo? Why? In a panic, I pulled the trigger, and from the barrel a bullet went flying. Quite literally right between her eyes. Would anyone ever believe me if I said this wasn't how I wanted things to turn out? The rain just keeps on coming. Wonder if I'll be able to go home today. Hey, Jacopino, say something, you little wuss. Be quiet. You're gonna give me a headache. The lightning's way louder than me. You jump, Jacopino. You're such a baby. You jump too, and stop calling me that. Don't be scared. Don't cry. I am not crying. Your eyes are damp too. I'm not crying. Not at all. Not one bit. Liar. There's no end to this rain, is there? I'm fine if it doesn't stop. There's nothing at home for me. You don't want to go home? Your parents don't get along, huh? That's got nothing to do with it. Liar. You've got it good. Everyone loves your grandpa. Whenever anyone needs something, they come to him. Now there's a great man. Huh? How did my grandpa become part of this? Oh, no reason. Not everyone likes him. He gets just as much hate as love. Grandpa's not really a model citizen. He's mostly just shrewd. Are you jealous? I'm not. My old man is, though. Huh, is he now? Well, your dad's got his good points too, I think. Like, I don't know, he seems like the kind of man who can accomplish big things. Though he seems a lot stricter than my grandpa. Oh, come on, I don't get you. What are you climbing up for? No reason. If you don't want to go home then, how about we go somewhere far away from here? Huh? Once it stops raining, let's get out of here. Head up to the capital, find some work. We can make it work, the two of us. Oh, and we'll bring Nero, of course. If we could, that would be nice. Break free of this city and its outdated traditions. Head somewhere bigger, more forward-thinking. If only it were possible. It's all right, Maria. I know you were just joking. We wouldn't be able to find work anyway. If the two of us ran off, we'd be starving in a month. You'd have to be blind not to see that. Right. Let's go home once the rain lets up. Yeah, once it does. But until then, I know, let's sing. Sing even louder than lightning. Then maybe you'll stop crying, Jacopo. I am not crying. Come on, let's sing. Maria, I may not put it into words, but I trust you understand that I consider you a dear friend. Listen to me, Jacopo. My actions were justified. I did what I did for the betterment of the city, this land. The Campanellas are too conservative. Under their control, this country will atrophy. Progress will continue to lose steam. If we don't push forward, we'll fall further and further behind. Before long, you will be made the next Capo Famiglia. But until that day, you will cross over to the New World and establish the Casca there. Unify us, bolster us, make us strong. I'll handle things back here. I won't let the Campanellas try and strike back. What? You want Maria to... It's dangerous to keep a Campanella so close by. She has to be taken care of. If you insist. But do not let your guard down. Betrayal is a constant companion in this world. I'm giving you my revolver. Keep it on you at all times. Glory everlasting upon our blood, and upon this earth. The best I can give you is a job as my maid. If I show you any more obviously preferential treatment, the Brazzatis are liable to step in. Money, power, respect, and enough authority to not take orders from anyone. I thought that if I could obtain all that, I would be able to give you your freedom, and her as well. I wanted to give you both comfortable lives, but none of that got through to either of you. Everything is slipping through my fingers. Her love, my friendship with Maria, both of their smiles. Master, Master, what was that sound? So much blood. Maria, what happened this time? You keep getting stuck witnessing the worst things. What? Call a doctor. Someone with tight lips. Do not call the police. And don't make a scene, got it? If so, then go on. Yes, sir. Right. Not everything has slipped from my grasp. My money and influence are all that's left. That is what you wanted, though, is it not? You sought money and power, no? Aren't you going to go? Yes, I will. But first, I would like to ask you something. What do you intend to do from here? What am I going to do? Exactly the same as before. There's but one thing for me to do. I see. Will you eventually find solace in your riches? The way I see it, money and power can be your ally, but they can become your enemy in the blink of an eye. If you do not put them into words, your feelings will never make it through to anyone. For unlike money, humans are not measurable by their appearance. He failed to communicate to anyone what he held within his breast. He was chained down by his place in society, his pride, his relationships, and his own heart. And at some point, he found himself in a position where he was no longer able to speak his mind. After enough time, he likely forgot how to be genuine at all. Or perhaps, someone like him simply would not, even if they knew how. In any event, there are many things in this world that cannot be communicated without being put into words. How sad that his tale should end without him expressing how he truly felt. How hard it must have been to never clear up his misunderstandings. After Jacopo's confrontation with Maria, the Pacific Railroad was completed as scheduled. Celebratory cheers shook the new world as the last spike was driven into the rails. Jacopo, however, could not even manage a smile listening to the telegraph. And I am sure you can take a guess as to why. The people with whom he wished to share that moment were not there. Shortly following her death, Jacopo held a private funeral for Maria. Then he commenced a search for the white-haired girl. But he did not do so alone. He hired others to help, did everything in his power to find her, tirelessly searching for many, many years. However, he was never able to locate her, and he spent the remainder of his life alone. Money, power, renown, servants. The world around him was always quite lively, but solitude was his only companion. He waited, and he waited, and he waited for the white girl to return. The years crawled by, and with no family or loved ones at his side to care for him in old age, he died alone. And with that, the Pig Iron Manor is complete. Since we're only 32 minutes in, I'm going to probably start, or get to the next chapter and then put the break. The door before you slowly drew shut. You could no longer hear the raucous sounds of the men from within the den. The faint scent of cigarette smoke, however, lingered in the air. Staring vaguely at the closed door, you noticed something was amiss. The maid who had been holding your hand was no longer at your side. You glanced around, but she was nowhere in sight. Down the corridor stretched only darkness. Not having anticipated this, you were unsure how to react. What's the matter? You lost, or are you just trying to take in the sights? A voice called out to you, but it was not the maid's voice. Caught off guard, you spun around, confused, in search of the source. Where are you looking? Over here. Yeah, there you go. A little more to the left. Following the voice's instructions, you found yourself facing a wall. You look like you've just seen a ghost. Hey now, come on, don't turn away. Yep, you got it. I'm the one talking to you. The voice was coming from within the painting. When you'd passed by this wall on your way to the third door, a magnificent landscape painting had been hanging there. But now, the canvas was a deep shade of black, as if it had been dipped into a vat of ink. Been a while since I talked to anyone. So tell me, you can hear me alright, can't you? Splendid. Been so long since I've had a conversation, I was afraid I might have forgotten how to talk. So tell me, who might you be? You don't know. Well, isn't that quite the pickle? But how about we have a little chat, eh? You got yourself turned around and aren't sure where to go, yeah? Well, I'll be happy to tell you anything I can, just ask away. The painting sounded rather high-spirited. Perhaps he was simply excited to have the opportunity to speak with someone, so you decided you would ask the painting a few questions. Now, I don't know if there are any achievements for this part, so I'm going to drop a save here in case I need to reload. So, we'll go with the first one. Who are you? Me? Well, as you can see, I'm a painting. Why did I end up as a painting? Hard to say. Maybe I was reborn as a painting because I used to really like art. Though there are things I painted that I wish I hadn't. Maybe that regrets what turned me into this. Hopefully I get the chance to apologize to him about that. Anywho, no point in going into any more detail than that. Wouldn't mean anything to you, so enough about me. Oh, right, you don't know anything about yourself. Shame that. Alright then. A favor for you since you can't tell me about yourself. If you run into him, could you tell him I really regret what I did? I know I should tell him myself, but, well, as you can see, I'm stuck here. Can't move an inch, so I gotta ask for help. I feel absolutely terrible about painting that picture. I know, yeah, the deadline's way past on that one. But that's what makes it regret, yeah? Because you can't take it back. By the time I'd realized it was too late, he was already dead. He's long since passed away. How are you supposed to give a dead fellow a message? Well, for all you know, the dead could be wandering these halls too. So please, if you come across him, tell him I said that. That I didn't mean any harm with that painting. Or maybe you are him. Who am I? Just because you don't know who you are doesn't mean you can go around asking other people. I'm not a person, you say. Well, no, you're right, but I'm not going to know anything about you that you can't tell me yourself. I mean, from where I'm standing, you almost look like a walking cloud of shadow. I can't even tell what you look like. The maid who was with you before, did she call you Master? I see. But the question is, which era's Master are you? How many doors have you been through? 3 doors, eh? And of those, did any of them bring anything back? Well, it's not an easy thing recovering yourself. Or maybe you weren't behind any of those 3 doors. Yeah, that's gotta be it. That was your first time witnessing those tragedies. Yours is another door. So tell me, how did you feel looking behind those doors? Was it frightening, saddening, heart-wrenching? Well, let me tell you something. You were able to bear them because they weren't your tragedies. If the next door you open is yours, will you be able to bear it? Will you be able to accept your own tragedy? It's one thing seeing another's suffering, but your own. If you have to face emotions you wanted to keep buried, secrets you wanted to keep hidden away, and pain you wanted to forget, do you think you'll be able to accept them as your own? If you can't, I wouldn't blame you. I wouldn't accuse you of running if you chose not to reclaim your old self. Nothing's wrong with erasing your memory of something if it was so bad you didn't want to face it in the first place. Let it be rewritten as someone else's story, then it'll make it a whole lot easier on you. Because you never know, the most unfortunate tale of all may well be your own. Or perhaps, that goes for everything about you. You won't know till you see it. Well, that's true enough. But once you do, there might not be any turning back. Or do you mean to reclaim your old self no matter the cost? If you do, if you're sincerely prepared to do that, then be wary of the tale that comes next. Any tragedy that seems too beautiful to be real is precisely that, a fabrication. If it turns out you're someone from behind the next door, then perhaps you're my... What is this place? Ooh, talk about some hard-hitting questions. I'm probably not the one who'll be able to answer that for you. I don't have a very deep connection with the mansion, you see. I swear, I got nothing to gain from lying, do I? It's my regrets that have turned me into this. I wasn't summoned here by no one. That said, there is one thing I can tell you. This place summons people. People who have ties to something that happened long, long ago. No one knows anything even happened. I didn't know either, till she told me. Though I haven't the foggiest how much of it's true or not. Are you here because you were summoned by her? Or did you come here of your own will to find someone? If you came here of your own volition and you weren't summoned by her, then mayhaps you'll be the one who can break. Who is the maid? Might as well ask her that directly, but she won't say till you've regained your old self? I see. Well, in that case, if you want to know, you know what you gotta do. It's entirely up to you whether you make an ally or an enemy out of her. There's no guaranteeing she's even right in the head. You never know. Maybe you're not the only one who hasn't found themselves. Haven't talked that much in a long time. Feels great. And now that I've gotten that out of my system, I should be able to get some good sleep. You're probably still wandering in the dark right now, but I really hope you find the outcome you want. And I mean that. You can either reclaim your old self, or you can toss it aside. The choice is yours either way. Now, since it looks like your escort isn't showing up, what do you plan to do next? Have you taken a look around the place since you got a little free time? Could be you come across some things you wouldn't with her around. Right, if you're gonna go exploring, I've got the perfect thing. Stick your hand into the canvas, would you? The pain was still wrapped in an impenetrable darkness, a perfect, all-consuming void. The man had told you to put your hand into it. You. Yoink! You extended your hand for the painting. The moment your fingertips brushed against the darkness, it swallowed your entire hand up to the wrist. No, not there. That tickles, a little to the right. As the man in the painting had instructed, you groped around inside of the darkness. Before long, you felt something hard at your fingertips. Clenching the object, you withdrew your hand. Your arm was still intact. You spread your fingers there, and you found a key. Ah, that tickled. With that key, you can access the master bedroom. A while back, she tossed it into me. The damn litterbug. So yeah, it ain't mine. Don't worry about giving it back. However, I bet there's something worth seeing in there, if she felt the need to toss that key. Alright, well, I'm gonna get some sleep. You take care. If you happen to learn my name, come pay me another visit. Should the fancy strike you. Having said that, the painting fell quiet. In your hand lay a small key. It seemed rather antiquated and vaguely familiar. Silence once again drew over the corridor. You stood there all alone, no sign of the maid. After considering for a few moments, you decided to explore the mansion on your own. Now I know there is an achievement here, so I'm going to save. I'm going to pop the achievement, then we'll come back. 1. Two. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. I'm trying to keep track of the ellipses, see if they are getting longer or not. 8. 9. And 10. All alone unlocked. So yes, you have to call for the maid 10 times in order for that to happen. Let's go to the fireplace. You made your way to the next room with the fireplace, where a remains of the fire crackled weakly, leaving the room in a veil of darkness. You remembered that you had awoken here. Out of sheer curiosity, you sat down in the rocking chair you had been asleep in. Creak, creak, creak. It was as soothing as a cradle to a baby, and in short order, you found your consciousness drifting from your grasp. Reading a story by the fireplace like this almost makes it feel like we're in another world, doesn't it, Master? I bet that's why troubadours perform at pubs, so they can be near the fire. No, you're such a cynic. But that's okay. Say, do you remember when I first arrived here? When I was cleaning the library. Your eyes slowly slid open. Fragments of a pleasant dream lingered at the back of your mind. The crackling of a fire, the taste of warm wine. However, there was nothing pleasant about the fireplace sitting before you. no warm, crackling flames. In fact, the brisk air of the room overpowered the remnants of embers left there. A chill ran down your spine. Afraid you might freeze stiff if you stayed there much longer, you resumed your exploration of the mansion. To the door. This is the one I imagine to be more problematic, but let's just go ahead and do it. You made your way to the mansion's entrance. There was no one around nor any source of light. Groping through the darkness, you found the front door, which was sealed shut with a heavy bar. You pressed against the bar, but it remained firmly in place. The door did not budge either. It seemed you could not leave the mansion. Burn the witch. Crucify the impure. When you made to step away from the entrance, you heard a muffled voice. You looked around, but were unable to determine the source of the voice. Nor could you be sure whom you had heard earlier. Giving up on finding anything at the entrance, you decided to head somewhere else. To the den. The scent of cigarette smoke lingered in the den. However, the room was silent. Not even an echo of the men's chattering remained. Something was moving. Billiard balls. There was no one present to strike the balls. They rolled spontaneously around the table. The paths they traced across the surface were rough and erratic, contrasting that of when the former master had held the cue. The spheres collided awkwardly with one another, not a single one coming close to the pockets. As an experiment, you pulled a ball off the table. In response, the paths of the balls became even clumsier. Having lost one of their targets, they began bouncing aimlessly off the cushioned walls of the table. As you stared intently at the table, a man's voice rang out from somewhere in the room. Spinning around, you saw a silhouette of a man. However, you could not make out what the man was saying. The man thrust his finger at the table. He appeared to want you to return the ball. You reluctantly placed the billiards ball back on the table. When you did, the balls resumed endlessly colliding with one another, never landing in any of the pockets. You looked up to find the shadow gone. Having determined that the maid was not going to appear in the den, you exited the room, making your way back into the corridor. Let's check out the rose garden. There it goes. Look, your head is covered in roses. Oh, you've got petals on the book. This isn't mine, I can't afford to... Now, if you remember, the children's names in the first chapter were Mel and Nellie. That corresponds to the number of X's appearing there. Since they're not saying the names, I'm going to omit them if they keep repeating them. Though you could hear the sound of children laughing, you could not see them. Regardless, their cheerful voices warmed your heart. You decided to linger there in the garden for some time. Along with the children's laughs, wafted a sweet fragrance. The wind blew, whisking flower petals up into the air. It was an enchanting sight. But after a while, the roses began to wilt. You could no longer hear the children's voices either. A young man stood alone in the withered rose garden. As you drew nearer, you called out to the youth. But the young man did not appear to notice you. He merely stood there, staring vacantly across the garden. The youth muttered something in a lifeless voice. This isn't what I wanted. I just want a normal, peaceful life. I can't bear being alone. I can't take this. Someone get me out of here. Oh God, tell me that I'm not the bad one here. You tried to call out to the young man several times, but he did not seem to hear you. He simply continued muttering to himself. Before long, the youth's shadow faded into nothing. Unable to bear the chilly air any longer, you stepped back into the mansion. To the cellar. When you descended into the cellar, you heard beast-like snarling. Along with it came a sour odor and the sound of ripping flesh. You could not see the beast, but that did not make it any less unpleasant. You made to retreat from the cellar. But before you could, a shadowy creature lunged at you. You reflexively squeezed your eyes shut. After several moments, you open your eyes again to find a silhouette of a man standing in place of the beast. You and the shadow stared at one another for some time. You asked the shadow a question, and the shadow responded. However, you had no idea what it said. The shadow seemed to be trying to communicate something to you, but trying to make sense of something you could not understand was pointless. Having no reason to remain in the cellar any longer, you made your way back upstairs. To the library. The smell of dusty books filled the air of the library. You approached a shelf to examine one of the books, and suddenly an avalanche of them came falling to the floor. You stared blankly at the mountain of books. They had fallen down on their own, but they showed no signs of putting themselves away. Since no one else was there to do it, you began placing the books back on the shelf. 1, 2, 3, a dozen, and as soon as you got them all back up, they came crashing back down again. You wished very much to implore of the maid's assistance, but she did not appear to be in the area. Pretending you had not seen anything, you made your way back into the hallway. Okay, now for the two problem spots. The window and the bedroom. Let's hit up the window, shall we? You approached the stained glass window. An array of pews was arranged facing the stained glass. There seemed to be an air of tranquility about the room. You sat down in one of the pews and stared quietly forward for some time. For a moment, you felt like you were on the verge of recalling something, but ultimately, the memory never managed to surface. The maid did not appear to be there. Where could she have gone? You decided to resume exploring the mansion. I thought we were going to have another vision in there, but all that's left is the bedroom. You inserted the key you had been given into the door's keyhole, and with a twist, the door opened. The master bedroom was shrouded in darkness, much like every other room in the mansion. It had evidently been left unused for some time. The air in the room was stale and forlorn. Master. A voice seemed to ring out from somewhere. Come on, get up. Up with you. Master. See, what did I tell you? It's so much nicer in here with a little light. Without warning, your whole world took on a bright, vivid color. Light streamed through the window, illuminating a well-lived bedroom. A woman's silhouette stood before you. Wait a sec. Don't you hide under your bedspread. Get out of there. But Master, you agreed I could open the windows. Don't worry, I've put curtains up. If it gets too bright, you can draw them. Mornings take the best parts of being outside and squeeze them all into the same few hours. You don't have to go outside in the sunlight for it either. Just listen to all the wonderful sounds. The joyous songs of the birds, the swaying of the trees, the rustling of the leaves. You tried to call out to the silhouette, but it did not respond. Reaching out for her, your hand simply passed through her body. It did not seem to be you that she was speaking to. Perhaps you were looking at a scene from some other period of time. Am I being as pushy as I feel right now? I completely misjudged you. You're the exact opposite of what I thought you were. Let's see. I thought you were cold and cruel, heartless and incomprehensible. But I'm beginning to get a better idea. You try to put on airs, but you're really rather childish. You have a short temper, but can be surprisingly playful. What else? You have a pretty difficult personality, too. Now, hear me out here. That's not everything. You gave me a chance to talk, and you listened intently. You can be kind of nice, too. We agreed that we would live together, not just in the same house, so we've got plenty of time to add more to that list. And I hope you can make your own list about me, too. This is just the beginning, after all. We've got a long, long time ahead of us. Plenty enough to get to know each other, no? Let's not waste any time, then. What do you say we do something today that we haven't been able to before? Where should we begin? I know. We can get this place cleaned up. Now that there's some actual light in here, we can see all sorts of things we'd probably rather not. like dust all over the place. When the woman's shadow faded away, the master bedroom transformed into its old dreary state. Master, can you say my name? You were unsure how to describe the urge welling up within your breast. You could not say her name. You stood unmoving in the master bedroom for some time, but it did not appear anything else was going to happen, so you decided to head somewhere else. You returned to the room with a stained glass window. You had searched throughout the mansion, but had no luck finding the maid. You felt somewhat tired, though you were not quite sure whether it was physical exhaustion or otherwise. You had little interest in doing any more moving about. Taking a seat in one of the pews, you gazed up at the stained glass. Staring solemnly down back at you was the archangel sent to weigh the souls of the deceased. Perhaps he was trying to weigh your soul. Master, Master. Oh, there you are, Master. You gave me quite the scare. After returning from the third door, you disappeared without a word. Oh my, it was I who disappeared? That is quite strange. I did not go anywhere, as far as I am aware. Nevertheless, I am glad to have found you. I would have been at a complete loss for what to do if I had been separated from you yet again. I did, indeed, say that when you first arrived. I have been waiting for your return for a very long time. For centuries, as a matter of fact. That would make me a ghost, then, you say? I am very much not a ghost. Would I be able to hold your hand if I were? Saying this, the maid took your hand. It was cold enough to send a shiver down your spine, and completely devoid of life. Though as chilling as it may have been, you still took comfort in the feeling of her hand in yours. The maid looked down at you with gentle eyes. After a few moments of silence, she sat down beside you. The stained glass is quite beautiful, is it not? Every time I see it, it brings a tranquility to my heart. A dreadful, deep-rooted curse afflicts this mansion. However, this room is the one exception. Can you feel the purity that hangs in the air, Master? Yes, what is it, Master? You are correct. The stained glass window had been shattered and was not present in the time period of the previous tale. I wonder. Perhaps it is because the mansion we are in presently resides in a realm separate from the real world. We are in a world constructed from myriad memories and histories. I am sure that when you regain your old self, Master, the mansion too shall be restored to its original state. So do try and remember, all right? Oh, yes. Where did you go in my absence, Master? I see. So you explored the mansion, then? And did you find anything noteworthy? Memories? I'm not quite sure what you mean. How peculiar. As a servant of the house, I pride myself in being aware of most everything present within these walls. I wonder whose memories they could be. The key to the master bedroom? Why did I throw away the key? I beg your pardon? You say a painting told you. You could see perplexity on the maid's face. You had never seen her make such an expression before. I know nothing of any key. Oh, Master, you should not tell jokes meant to cause others discomfort. But a talking painting, you say? You seem to have a rather vivid imagination. Maybe you can tell the next tale, Master. I'm only teasing. Now, that was a nice break, but we should get moving. The tale I'm about to show you is the last of the mansion's memories. I am certain you will remember yourself after seeing it. To our feet. The final door is not far. And please, do not let go of my hand. Holding your hand, the maid led you to the far end of the room. Crossing beneath the stained glass window, a metal door came into view. Our destination lies at the top of these stairs. There we will find one last door. She pushed open the metal door, revealing a long, long spiral staircase. It will be a bit of a walk, so let us be on our way. And please, do watch your step. This is called an observation tower. Normally, towers such as this were built in castles or churches, so it is rather strange for there to be one in a mansion. The last door I wish to show you, Master, resides at the top of this tower. Rectangular windows were carved out of the stone in several locations along the way up the spiral staircase. You attempted to peer out one of the windows, but all you could see was a thick layer of fog. Perhaps the maid's suggestion that the mansion did not presently reside in reality was in fact correct. With each step upward, you found yourself gripped by an indescribable sense of anxiety. The feeling somewhat resembled irritation or annoyance. Sensing this, the maid tightly gripped your hand. There is nothing to worry about. You will be fine. It is all in the past. No matter what may happen, so long as you do not let go of my hand, you have nothing to fear. You and the maid continued climbing the stairs. Up and up, around and around, marching even nearer the supposed final door. High up into the tower, as the light from below drew distant, a rotten wood door came into view. Patches of what appeared to be blood stained the surface, and holes had been bored into it with sharp objects of some sort. You heard a scream from far below, where no one should have been. "Kill the witch, kill the witch, kill the witch! Burn her, burn her, burn her!" You were struck with fear. The next moment the maid opened the door. And then you slowly descended into darkness. $1,099. And here we are at the Misty Manor.